What's up, Mavericks? We're going to talk in this video about turning off your broke brain. And before you say, oh, I'm just going to skip this video because I want to dive into the nitty gritty of this, please, it is very important that you watch this video. Because if you skip this video, I can promise you it is going to be very, very hard for you to be successful without these tactics and without this mindset. So turning off your broke brain really comes down to you transitioning as a human being and as a business owner. And what that means is understanding financials in a different way. You see, when I got started in the agency space, we pretty much built it from nothing in the ground up. And the trouble with that is, well, you're pretty broke. So with that means you probably have a bit of a broke mindset as well. And it's really hard to transition and understand money and its best capabilities. And what that means is you really need to look at money differently. Instead of looking at money as a resource you should hoard, understanding that money is a tool that will help you grow and help you make more money and be successful. Now, this doesn't mean to go invest your last $100 and put it all on red and bet it. But this means that as you grow, to start to understand that as you make money, put it to use for you to help you continue to build. Because if you don't understand that, it's going to be very hard for you to translate that type of thinking to business owners who you're trying to sell. An example of that is this. One of the best things I was ever taught when I was first building in this space was that you sell the way that you buy. And if you have a fear-based emotion on spending $1,000 or $500 or $1,500, that is going to show when you sell to someone and ask them to buy something for the same amount, because your attachment to that finance is basically, I'm scared to lose that, which means you're also going to be scared to ask for that. And that was one of the best transitions that I made personally, was to get to a point where I'm not afraid to, number one, spend that in my business, but I'm also not afraid to ask for it because I've made those same sacrifices 10 times over for my own business. So I can confidently say from one business owner to another that you should make this move based on this. And I have done this level of investment before, and I've been in your shoes. It makes it a lot easier to translate the sale in that way. So there's a few different advantages to thinking in the regards of money as a tool and not a resource that we should hoard, because realistically, that is truly how we get ahead, because we are limited by time, but our financial and our money resources, we can continuously build, but you cannot get more time. Chase, give me some stuff that from your perspective has really helped you overcome a broke mindset and start to live in a more of an abundance mindset as a business ownership.
Yeah, definitely. So this brings me back to when I first got into the agency space and I did not have a lot of money, and had a scarcity mindset where, if I would have spent XYZ to grow my business, my first thought wasn't, this might actually work and actually increase the amount of money that I'm going to make by bringing on more clients or whatever it is. My first thought was, what if I lost it? What if I just throw it away? Instead of looking on the positive of what could happen and seeing the money actually as a tool, because now I understand that you actually do have to spend money in some way. You have to invest back into yourself in order to increase the amount that you want to make from your business. Like, that is something that you have to understand. Like, it is something you have to do. And so when I finally just said, you know what, I talked to my wife, I said, I want to, put this much per day into our advertising for my own agency in order to get more clients. Is it okay that we just go ahead and just give it a shot? Because otherwise I'm not going to do this anymore, because it's not growing. Well, I started paying, it was like $50 a day. Like, that seems like such a small amount of money now, but at the time it was a lot. I was like, man, by Friday I'm going to have spent $250 on ads. Well, goes to show, I started getting sales calls because people actually were interested in what I had to offer. And so you just have to understand, like, that small amount of money that you do have to put back into it, you can't just hold on to it, because what you don't sow back into your business, your business isn't going to flourish and grow and produce the fruit that you want it to. And so you have to have the mindset of, I'm putting some in now. It's like planting a seed. I'm going to water it. And then in the long run, it's going to end up producing tenfold of what I put into it. And so you have to have the mindset of the long term and stop thinking so much about the short term, because short term doesn't matter. It's all about the long term.
Yeah, those are great points. And there's two things that I'll connect to that. One is understanding the difference between a business expense and a personal expense. You see, Chase just mentioned how spending $200 was a large number to him at the time. But from a business perspective, that is minimal. That is very small. We have to understand, if we're trying to become successful business owners, that we need to, at each different level, sort of build that confidence that we're able to spend and build a business based on that. Because you're not going to make it without spending some sort of money. You have to hire employees at some point. You have to run ads. You have to do some form of marketing. There's going to be an expense somewhere for you as a business owner. And you have to become confident in those expenses and in your growth. And it might sound crazy now, depending on what level we're talking. Maybe some of you are saying, spending $200 isn't a big deal. Some of you are going to say that's a lot of money. But what's interesting is, as you start to build, both personally and in a business setting, start to realize how small those numbers really are. And you start to understand and build both from a personal level and as a business owner. And understanding that these investments, one of the most important things to realize is that if you take 10 at bats, you're going to strike out on a few. And you can't be afraid of that, because the few investments that you do hit a home run on, those are going to build you well past where you ever would have been had you not made any moves at all. So your fear, all of us on a human level have that fear of loss. It's built within us. But the minute that you're able to overcome that fear, it puts you in a completely different universe. You're operating within endless opportunities at that point, as you continue to level up within it, because you start to realize that the money is a tool that will help you be more successful and help you make more money in many different ways. And you have to let that play out, because a lot of you who are going to watch this might have a side gig that you currently do, or a 9-to-5 that you hate. I came from that. And despite my hatred for it, it was comfortable. It wasn't scary. The other side was scary, and that's what kept me there. So you have to be able to overcome those fears and build upon them, because only after you do that will everything else make sense and build when it comes to the success of you individually and your businesses in the future. Anything else that you'd like to add when it comes to kind of that fear mindset, Chase, or more so living in an abundance?
Yeah. So what you said, I totally resonate with. I think a big change came in my life when I realized that everything is all about numbers. When you can ascribe a number to something, then you can begin to reverse engineer that success that you want. And so at a certain point, when you start to kind of get used to this process and investing a little bit here and there in your business and using it to acquire new customers and clients and things like that, you'll begin to recognize like what that number is in order to bring on a new client, whether it's running ads or whatever it may be. And then you could actually begin to basically have much more predictable sales. And then your whole mindset will begin to change. You'll begin to stop looking at money as something to hoard, like what Blake was saying. You'll turn off that animal brain that wants to store up everything for a cold winter because of what may or may not happen, something that we can't even predict. Instead, you'll begin getting a little bit more aggressive, because you understand that those who take more risks are the ones that happen to be the most successful. And I'm not talking about stupid risks, but strategic risks, things that you can actually have you can set a probability of the outcome that you want to happen. And once you're able to do that, the whole world just opens up to you. You begin looking at everything so much differently, and you stop worrying about just the rainy day, and you start thinking about the sunny days and those vacations and the freedom and the things that you want to have in life. You start looking more at those things and stop worrying about what could happen when you can't predict any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll finalize it with this. When it comes to those numbers, I'll give you guys an example. You're trying to build a business, and within that business, you're gonna have an understanding of what you charge, right? So let's say you're making an investment in building a business, or you're making an investment in trying to get more opportunities for your business. I'll give you an example for both. So if you had to invest $300, or we'll even say $500 into building the business, okay? Then you would say if it costs me $500 to arm myself with everything I need to build this business, and I build this business and I'm going to charge $1,000, what is the likelihood that I won't make any money and that I will lose all of my money? That would be the sort of math that you would do in your head. Another example would be, let's say you bring someone on, and originally when I built our agency, I brought someone on to do prospecting. She did Instagram prospecting for us and cold email, and we didn't have any clients. So it was coming out of my pocket. All right. And this is a virtual assistant. We'll talk more about them. And she's still with us to this day. When I brought her on, I said, it's going to cost X amount each week. And in order to that to make sense, I need to bring on a couple clients a month. So the way I ran those numbers was based on the amount of things that she was doing, did I feel confident that we would bring in more prospects? And the answer was yes. And while that was risky to bring someone on with no clients, guess what it did for us? We moved faster because she did things that I couldn't do because I was building other things. So I leveraged the time of someone else to help the business make more money, despite that being a financial leap. So you want to use those numbers and make sure that they make sense. And in most cases, they are going to. And when you do that, it will help you slightly overcome the fear. I would move fast because the more that you think about it, the more you convince yourself that it's the wrong move. I like to think things over at max in a 24-hour basis. And that's probably much longer than most people need. All right. So if you give yourself 24 hours, that should be more than enough time to make a decision on something. If your answer is that I do think I can make more money on it, and this isn't my last dollar, then you go through with it. If your answer is I don't think that this could make me money at all, then obviously you know the answers. You don't move forward on it. But don't let that fear of loss stop you from doing great.